If you have clicked on this video, you are most probably writing CA Foundation or CA Intermediate exams coming January. And deep inside, you know you should be writing at least 3 model tests before appearing in the main exam. But somewhere something has been stopping you from doing that. Maybe you even registered for the tests and still you might be skipping them. The resistance is normal, it's totally understandable. But my obvious advice is that you have to do it. You have to write at least 3 rounds of mock tests before you appear in the main exam. There is a famous quote of Mike Tyson that everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. You might be procrastinating on the model test, stating that you have not prepared enough. You think you need more time to study. You might also be making imaginary plans that at the main exam you will write this question first, that question next, and that question at last. You would also be assuming that somehow, if you prepare well enough, you don't have to worry about what will happen in the main exam. But let me tell you, if you don't write mock tests, no matter how strong you think your preparation level is, in the main exam, you will get punched in the mouth. Maybe in the very first question of the very first exam. If you think I'm trying to scare you, then you are not wrong. In fact, I'm trying to make it as scary as possible. So it doesn't matter how scared or miserable you feel, after the end of this video, you are downloading the MTP papers and writing the test. Having said that, I will also share some more action points that will make the test writing experience a bit easier and much more effective. The first thing you need to keep in mind is you don't need to register for any paid test series. Just download the mock test papers from the institute's website and get on with the first paper. If you have done decent preparation, then you can aim to complete the paper fully, write the test for the full 3 hours. But if you haven't done that great preparation, you still download the paper and undergo the self-test. Maybe you can try to write the test for 2 hours. The second thing I want to tell you is how to correct your answer paper. Do the correction all by yourself. Don't let your mother or father or elder relatives who are CAs do it. Even if you have written some paid test series and you have the answer paper with you, do the evaluation one more time by yourself, comparing them with the suggested answers. And while evaluating, don't focus on how many marks you are going to get. That does not matter much. Marks will make you anchored to a particular number. Don't get hyper enthusiastic if your score is 85, or don't get dejected if your score turned out to be just 23. I'm repeating again, don't get anchored to a particular mark. Instead, your whole focus while evaluating model tests should be in identifying what are the areas that are a big concern for you at a micro level. Say you are in CA Inter writing first group. You thought you were so thorough with the share capital and debentures chapter, but while answering, you were not able to draft the answer with enough accuracy. Or maybe you wrote a problem paper and made some silly calculation errors. So for finding out depreciation, instead of taking 8 by 12, you took 9 by 12. Errors like that. So take a new piece of paper and start writing one observation after the other. Note down everything. It will take a while, but don't worry. It's not at all a waste of time. In fact, your real learning would take place only when you sit down with your answer paper and do your own evaluation. Nothing can beat that. Once you identify these errors, you would go to any extent to make sure that you don't commit those errors again. That's a huge gain. The third thing you need to keep in mind is you have to have a calm mind. The reason is that when you pick up a pen and start to evaluate yourself, every time you notice a new error, you would start to judge yourself, start to self-criticize, and some people might even end up panicking. So for this entire process, I recommend you give yourself an unlimited allowance with respect to how many ever errors you can commit. So whenever you sit to evaluate, say the following: even though this does not feel pleasant, I am the one who is benefiting here. Every error I make and discover is a slave to me. Every error I discover is one less thing to be afraid of. We all think that we have studied a particular topic, that we are done with a particular chapter. We are prone to live in an illusion, and that illusion will break only when we are tested on that chapter. Suddenly you would forget what working note would come next, or out of nowhere you would mix up a provision of some other case into the question you are currently writing. But it's all good as long as you are discovering them. Let's say after this analysis you noted down 20 bullet points. That means you have 20 areas to rectify or to pay close attention to. When you know what your pain points are, you would automatically know what you have to do next. And finally, you have to come to terms with reality that you will never have a perfect preparation. Even if you have been studying every day for the last 4 months, you will feel that there can be things that can be done a bit better. Hardly anybody feels that they have prepared enough. So don't chase that illusion. Don't let what you think about your preparation guide your next actions. A wiser approach would be to go ahead with what needs to be done instead of letting your emotions pull you down. Disconnect from what your inner voice is telling you and do what needs to be done. Getting punched in the face is not at all a pleasant experience, but it is better to get punched in the mouth 30 days ahead of the exam than in the exam hall. I wish you all the best.